Hello, spooky friends! Today I will be sharing with you a list of everything you need to get in the mood for autumn. So grab something cozy and let's get started. Spooky friends, my name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited because I have compiled the ultimate list to get you in the mood for fall. I've been doing autumnal book recommendation lists for such a long time, for years and years and years, and it's actually one of my very favorite videos to make every single autumn season, but like also just in general because I'm obsessed with fall. However, I've been getting more and more comments asking me for other recommendations, things like movies, television series, music, video games, anything to get you in the mood for autumn. And I think this actually is because of darling Desi. Desi does these incredible autumn starter fall packs every single year where she gives you kind of a list of not only books but also movies, activities, recipes, things to get you into the mood for fall. They are my favorite things that she does on the entire internet, and that's saying a lot because I'm like her #1 fan and I love everything she does. And because of her, I kind of wanted to try my hand at also expanding my recommendations, so I will also be giving you all things cozy involving video games, television series, and movies in addition to books. The way I've kind of curated this list is I've picked everything based on atmosphere. Anything that's going to give you those cozy autumn vibes, that is going to be what you can find here. So let's go ahead and get started with the autumnal book recommendations. The first book I highly recommend checking out is Legends and Lattes, and this is by Travis Baldree. And this is an adult fantasy, and it is a self-proclaimed high fantasy with low stakes book. If you're looking for a book that feels like a warm cup of coffee by a crackling fire, look no further than this book. This book is following an orc named Viv, and Viv wants to retire from a life of adventure, and instead she wants to open up a cozy coffee shop. The book is actually following her as she moves to a very quaint little magical town. The coffee shop then lures in so many different people from all walks of life, and the book itself is exploring all of the relationships she has with all of the townspeople. It's so cozy and so atmospheric. I love the details of like the coffee and the pastries and all of the townspeople that she meets. There's also a very, very sweet relationship between her and the barista. If you are looking for that perfect, charming, and very chill book for autumn, look no further than Legends and Lattes. The next book I have here is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. In my opinion, no autumn is complete without a classic and slightly pretentious dark academia book, and this one takes the cake. So this book is following Richard, and Richard has just transferred to a cozy and slightly pretentious New England university, and while he is there, he essentially gets very interested in an elusive and very exclusive group of students on the campus who are studying Greek. The closer Richard gets to this group of new friends, the closer they get to committing a murder. The next book is a chunky boy, and it is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and this is by Susanna Clark. This adult fantasy is so incredibly gripping that it will completely suck you in. I read this last autumn, and I actually finished everything in, I think, the spans of 5 days because I could not put this down. The book itself opens up in autumn in the 1800s in London, and we are focused on a London that accepts magic, but it believes that magic has gone away, and so there are magicians who study magic, but only the practices of magic itself in theory. They don't actually believe that real magic can happen. And so we're basically focusing on the secret society of magicians. One day they are told by a Mr. Norrell that magic actually does exist and that none of them are actually capable of doing it, and then he goes ahead and performs an incredible magical feat. From there, we are kind of following his life and his perspective and all of the different people that he meets, as well as his one and only pupil, Jonathan Strange. Their friendship turns rivalry, and there are so many interesting plot points that happen in this book. It reads a lot like a mini-series, which is ironic because it was actually turned into a mini-series. I highly recommend if you are a big fan of fantasy and you love cozy vibes, picking this up. It felt felt very academic in certain points. I just loved everything about it. It is the definition of cozy. The next book is a book that I haven't read yet, but I've picked it up and it sounds absolutely perfect for autumn, and that is Hotel Magnifique, and this is by Emily J. Taylor. This is a YA fantasy, and I picked it up initially because it's giving me Big Night Circus vibes, which in my opinion is another book that's absolutely perfect for this season. In this world, we're following two sisters who are trying to get jobs at this very famous and elusive hotel called Hotel Magnifique. The hotel actually pops up in different cities all over the world, and it has all of these different enchantments, and the two girls end up getting jobs at this hotel, and from there we are kind of following their journey with this magical hotel. I believe there's a little bit of a romance in here, which I'm really excited about. I think if you are a person who loves cozy fantasy in the autumn months and you love a little bit of like a circusy magical vibe, you might want to check this out. I have very high hopes for it. Next up, we have yet again another book all about coffee. I don't know if you can tell, but to me, nothing screams autumn more than a hot cup of coffee, which is why I picked Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and this is by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This particular book is following a magical coffee shop in Tokyo. The coffee shop has a little bit of like magical realism in it. You can actually travel back in time. There are a couple of caveats to this rule though, and the number one rule is that you can only travel back until your coffee gets cold. Every single person I know who has read this book has said that it is a little bit of a tearjerker, that it's extremely cozy, and that it makes you feel very comforted. I don't know. So I feel like this is going to be the ultimate comfort read, especially for autumn. And I'm really excited to pick this up. So if you're looking for a short little comfort read in the autumn time, you might want to pick up Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Next up, I have an anthology. There is something about reading anthologies in the colder months that makes it feel kind of like a traditional old-fashioned like bedtime story. And so for this particular autumn, I am picking up Dreadful Young Ladies and Other Stories by Kelly Barnhill. This, I think, is adult fantasy. We're following all of these different snippet stories about some little tiny bit of magic in these people's everyday lives. I initially picked this up because I love Kelly Barnhill's writing. She actually wrote the middle grade, The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which I love so very much, and I think would be also a really good pick this autumn season. But I wanted to try something that she wrote as like an adult short story collection, if that makes sense. And I love her writing so much. It feels very immersive, and for short stories, they feel very all-encompassing. Like they feel like each one could be their own novel that I would pick up. I've only read the first 3, but every single one has been a 5 out of 5 star read. One was about a girl falling in love with a monster. Another one was about a love letter to a ghost, and it's just perfect for the spooky season. The next book I have here is a charming middle grade, and it's called A Pinch of Magic, and this is by Michelle Harrison. This is a book that I used to talk about all the time on my channel, and I'm absolutely still completely obsessed with it. It is one of the most charming and cozy books I've ever read in my whole entire life. We're actually following 3 sisters, and I believe this takes place the day after Halloween or possibly the day of Halloween, and they have been forbidden to leave this little island where they live. However, one day they decide to try to leave the island, and then their grandmother just immediately comes and pops up in the middle of the water and tells the ferry captain that they have to go back. She explains to the girls that they are cursed and they cannot leave the island. And so the rest of the book is these 3 sisters who are then given like 3 magical gifts, and using their gifts, they have to try to break this curse. The writing is one of my favorite parts of this particular book. The way Michelle Harrison crafts her world feels absolutely perfect for the colder winter and autumn months. I could not recommend this more. You're going to love the characters, you're going to love their family, and you're going to love the way they may or may not break the curse. Next up is a graphic novel that I've definitely recommended before, but I just reread it and I need to recommend it again, and it is Pumpkinheads, and this is by Rainbow Rowell, and this is illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks. This is the most autumnal fall-esque graphic novel I've ever read in my whole entire life, and I am obsessed with it. We're following Deja and her best friend Josie, and every single year they actually work at this huge pumpkin patch, and the pumpkin patch is so elaborate. Like there's a corn maze, and there's hay rides, and there's all these yummy food trucks everywhere, and they work this every single autumn, and this is the last season before they both go off to college. And because of this, Deja is convinced that she is going to make her best friend Josie finally talk to the girl he has liked for like several years, but has always been too shy to talk to. It's kind of a little bit of like an adventure and a scavenger hunt trying to find this girl through this very, very epic pumpkin patch. It is so cute. It's kind of a little bit of like a friends to lovers situation. I love it so much. I felt like everything about this made me want to be at a pumpkin patch. If you're a person who loves hearing about different foods to eat, like caramel apples and kettle corn, you're gonna wanna pick this up. But also, you're gonna get so hungry while reading this. The next book I don't actually have, I have on order, and it is called The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. So this particular book I think is adult with some romance elements, and we are following Micah Moon. And Micah Moon is a witch who keeps under the radar with one specific condition, and that is she actually pretends to be a witch online with like a fake account. However, this account actually catches the attention of a person who needs, I think, his 3 daughters to be trained in witchcraft. And she decides actually that she is interested, and so she goes over and she tries to teach these kids how to control their magic. And while she is over there, I think romance ensues with their dad. Micah goes and is immediately tangled up in the lives and secrets of not only her 3 charges, but also an absent archaeologist, a retired actor, 2 long-suffering caretakers, and Jamie, the handsome and prickly librarian of Nowhere House. So I don't know if like he's just protecting the children or if he's their father, but somehow this guy is involved and he's a hot librarian, and like, say less, you know what I mean? And then my last 2 book recommendations on this list are both middle grades, and they are The Graveyard Book and Coraline, both by Neil Gaiman. I have recommended these so much, and that is because I truly feel like these are the ultimate books for the spooky season. Not only are they slightly creepy and spooky, I also feel like Neil Gaiman has really nailed that combination of like eeriness mixed in with some magic and whimsy and cozy vibes. If you have not read either of these, I think they're both 5 out of 5 stars and both worthy of reading. The Graveyard Book is following Bod, and Bod's family has unfortunately been murdered, and he is then raised by ghosts in a graveyard. I know it sounds creepy, trust me, it is atmospheric and cute and super cozy. And then Coraline obviously is kind of iconic. I know there was a very famous movie that I love so much based on this book by Tim Burton, and this particular one is following Coraline, who moves into a new little house. She finds a doorway, and the doorway leads to another world. They're both creepy, they're both atmospheric, they're both perfect for the spooky season, and in my opinion, they're both very, very cozy reads. That's it for all of the books. Let's go ahead and move on to cozy video games. So this might come as a little bit of a surprise, but I actually love playing video games. However, if the video game is scary in any capacity, I'm out. I am what we would consider a cozy casual gamer. That means I like to play video games that you can pick up and put down. You kind of can just do them when you have a little bit of free time, and they are video games that make you feel very, very cozy. I actually first found out about cozy gaming, I think, on TikTok, and since then I have seen several different video game recommendations for cozy gamers. I will link all of them down below. But today I will be sharing with you 6 cozy video games that I love playing specifically on my Switch. Okay, the first one is called Cozy Grove, and this is literally the most perfect cozy game to play in the autumn season. This is essentially Animal Crossing, but like haunted and spooky. So you actually play as a spirit scout assigned to Cozy Grove, a spooky little island filled with friendly spirits, and your job is to help them with their afterlives. You'll build a camp, make friends with the characters, and bring color back by decorating. This is literally the definition of cozy gaming, so if you're interested in something that's going to be really comforting and relaxing to play, I highly recommend checking this one out. The next game I have here is called Witchwood, and this is currently my favorite game to play. I've been playing this a lot recently. Witchwood is a crafting focused game where you play as a witch who has amnesia and then needs to fulfill a contract she signed with a mysterious mysterious goat. It sounds funny, but it's so cozy. You gather ingredients for spells and explore the forest and her cottage, and it's just so much fun. If you're a person who loves cottagecore things and cozy witch vibes, maybe like practical magic vibes, I think this is the video game for you. I could not recommend it more. It's super cozy. The next game I have here is one that I've been playing a lot recently, and it's called Night in the Woods. So this is a story-focused exploration game. You play as a cat named May, who has just dropped out of college and has come home. The story is actually pretty deep as she reconnects to her family and friends and tries to find herself again. And the backdrop is so beautiful. We see fall foliage, autumnal colors, and a lovely story plays out as May reconnects with her old friends. This is a video game that I recommend checking out if you're a person who is looking for a very atmospheric game, as everything about this screams fall to me. I love the colors, I love the artwork in it, and I think you will love it as well. Next up, I have Coffee Talk. And if there's one thing this list is kind of reminding me, it's that I have an unhealthy obsession with coffee. But hey, what can you do? So in this game, you play as a barista in a town filled with magical inhabitants. Some are vampires or monsters or even struggling writers. Your job is to listen to their stories and then brew them up coffee. This is the most chill game on the list, and you can't really mess up. You can also have some say in how certain storylines end up with your customers, and it feels like you're just hanging out in some magical little cafe somewhere. I highly recommend, if you want something that's going to be very relaxing and chill, you check out this game. Hi, hello. I filmed this before Dreamlight Valley absolutely devoured and became my life, so we're gonna go ahead and include that as well. Okay, Disney Dreamlight Valley is a hybrid basically between a life sim and also an adventure game. And it's so cool because the customization in this is absolutely on a different level. You can completely make your avatar look exactly like you. And your task is essentially to take out these things called night thorns and restore all of the inhabitants' like earlier memories. It's really fun. You go on all of these very cute and cozy little adventures, but you also kind of get to make your own life in this very magical little Disney village. And then finally is a really silly fun one, and that is Luigi's Mansion. I love everything in the Mario world, so I really wanted to put this one on the list. So in this particular one, Luigi actually goes to a mansion where Mario is trapped inside, and he has to exterminate ghosts and search for his brother. If you like things that are a little bit spooky, I highly recommend checking this out. There are a couple of jump scares, but it's just really silly and really fun. And now let's go ahead and move on to movies and television series. So the first movies I highly recommend checking out are the Meg Ryan fall movies, which include When Harry Met Sally and You've Got Mail. There is no autumn that is complete without watching and binging both of these movies in like a double feature. When Harry Met Sally is following two friends. They actually start off kind of as like enemies who hate each other, and they are both moving to New York City. The entirety of the movie actually follows as they progress from enemies to reluctant friends to best friends to eventually more than friends, lovers. It is so classic. I love fall in New York in this movie in particular. I feel like the colors really feel just so immersive. Like it makes you really want to just live in New York City in the fall. I also love their friendship. I think that this is one of the most romantic and beautiful stories I've actually ever watched, and it's also so funny. I highly recommend it so much. And then of course You've Got Mail is perfect for every book lover out there. We are following Kathleen Kelly, and she owns literally the most iconic bookstore I've ever seen in my life in, once again, New York City. And this particular movie is kind of like a rivalry between her and Joe Fox. And Joe Fox is trying to open up a huge mega bookstore which will put her and a lot of other independent bookstores out of business. And she wants to try to fight against this very large concept of a bookstore, which she thinks like loses its touch and personal relationships with customers. And it's so funny because even though they're enemies in real life, they're actually in love with each other online. This is the time when like AOL was a big thing, You've Got Mail was a big thing, and they're actually secretly chatting with each other. They found each other in like some random internet chat room, and they're both completely in love with each other, but they don't know who is who. And so it's about those two worlds colliding of being in love with each other, but also hating each other in real life. It's so cute. It's so perfect for fall, and it's perfect if you are a big lover of books as well. Next up, I highly recommend checking out Practical Magic. This movie is so freaking iconic, and it will make you want a midnight margarita. We're following two best friends and sisters, Gilly and Sally, and they both have been blessed with the gift of magic. They live in a quaint little New England town, and unfortunately, the town really hates witches, and they are constantly ostracizing their family. These two girls go to live with their aunts when their mom dies of a broken heart after her husband has passed away. The girls learn that the family has a curse set on them that any person they fall in love with will die of a broken heart. So the movie itself is following these two girls as they grow up and how that curse affects them in their later years in life. But everything about it is just really perfect for fall. I love the house. I love the town. I love the costumes. I love the music. Everything about it feels perfect and like reminiscent of the 90s. And it feels so cozy and quaint. It's perfect. If you've never seen it, I could not recommend it more. The third movie I have to recommend is going to be Silver Linings Playbook. This is one of the most iconic and stunning movies ever. It's not necessarily a movie that you think of when you think of fall, but I have a feeling it's going to be one of those iconic fall movies that people reach for in the future. We're following a person named Pat who has just left a mental institution. He ended up losing his wife and his job at the same time, which is how he ended up trying to get therapy at this mental institution. And when he leaves, he moves back in with his family. He's completely determined though to win back his wife. However, his wife wants absolutely nothing to do with him, and I think she even has like a restraining order against him. But then cue in Tiffany. Tiffany is best friends, I think, with his wife, or like they're really good friends. And she tells him that she will help him if in turn he is her dance partner, because she really wants to sign up for this ballroom dancing competition, but she doesn't have a partner. It's a very emotional and raw movie. This is definitely something I would consider to be like a tearjerker. It will make you cry, but it's such a beautiful and well acted movie. Jennifer Lawrence acts her freaking off in this movie, and so does Bradley Cooper. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and it's very, very touching, but it's also perfect for the fall. It's set in the fall months. There's foliage everywhere. It's cold and crisp, and it makes you feel like wrapping yourself close up in a big sweater. It makes you feel like watching a football game. I think it's such an underrated fall movie, and I could not recommend it more, especially if you're in the mood for a good cry. Next up, I am a book lover. I had to recommend Little Women. I love Little Women so much. Iconic, amazing, and perfect for these chillier months. This movie is following four different sisters. They are the March sisters: Meg, Amy, Jo, and Beth. We follow them throughout the seasons, but really I feel like the colors of this one specifically really remind me of autumn and winter. And the movie itself is following all of the different drama that like happens to all of the sisters. It's a tale of family and friendship and heartache, and it's so beautiful and well done. It's a classic book, and I think that the movie is going to be considered kind of like a classic movie as well, because it was just so well acted. The costumes are beautiful, the atmosphere is amazing, and the acting is phenomenal. And then the last movie is something that I'm calling my childhood fall starter pack. These are the movies that really defined my childhood growing up in the 90s, and I'm gonna be super brief because I feel like everyone has heard of them. So Casper is about a girl named Kat, and Kat and her father move into a crumbling old mansion haunted by some friendly and not so friendly ghosts. Halloween Town follows Marnie, Dylan, and Sophie, who have always been forbidden to like anything to do with Halloween. And then one Halloween night, they follow their grandmother into a strange magical world where magic actually exists. And finally, Hocus Pocus follows Max, Danny, and Allison, who accidentally bring back the Sanderson sisters, a trio of witches determined to suck the lives out of the children of Salem. These are the movies that really make me feel the most nostalgic and cozy. If you have not seen them, I highly recommend them. I rewatch them every single fall. And now to round out the list, I'll go ahead and briefly tell you 3 television series that I highly recommend checking out for those cozy autumn vibes. The first one is the most iconic, and that is Over the Garden Wall. You can stream this, I believe, from Hulu, and I could not recommend this more, you guys. This is the most autumnal thing on this list, in my personal opinion. I love it so much. So this is a cartoon, and we are following Wirt and Greg, who are brothers, and they have ended up lost when they tumbled over the garden wall. And they end up in this very strange and mysterious place that is magical. We're following their journey as they are going from place to place, trying to find their way back home. And it's such a beautiful and well-crafted cartoon. I felt like the story overall was so clever and well done, and it made me very emotional. If you've never seen this, I could not recommend this more. I'm obsessed with this. I watch it multiple times every single fall, and if you've never seen it, I couldn't recommend it more. Next up, you have to check out the Gilmore Girls. If you're out on the road. The Gilmore Girls gives me all those cozy, warm fall feelings that I look for every single season. We're following Lorelai and Rory is trying to get into this very prestigious and very snooty school called Chilton. The series itself is kind of following the mother and daughter relationship, as well as their relationship with estranged grandparents who are financially backing Rory into this school. The reason it's so fall-esque, though, I think is because it takes place in New England. Lorelai and Rory live in this really quaint, beautiful New England town called Stars Hollow, and it is so perfect for the fall. It's iconic, it's classic, and it's perfect for autumn. I highly recommend checking it out if you've never seen it. And then finally, my last recommendation is going to be a television series called Lock and Key, and you can find this on Netflix. I started watching this a couple of years ago, and honestly, I feel like it is perfect for the spooky seasons. We're following 3 siblings and their mother who are all moving to their father's old house called Key House. The father has actually just passed away, and once the siblings are there, they start exploring this huge manor called Key Manor. And while they are exploring, they discover these keys, and the keys in this house actually give them specific magical abilities. This is a very dark show. Like, there are so many different scary moments in this, but I loved it so much. I felt like the crumbling old manor gave me like very gothic vibes and felt perfect for fall, but also that little bit of magic around the town and around the house and with the siblings feels perfect for autumn time. If you're looking for the ultimate cozy and slightly scary story, I highly recommend checking out Lock and Key. And I think, you guys, that is it. That is my very long list of TV series, movies, video games, and books I highly recommend to get you in the mood for fall. If you've made it to this point of the video, please let me know, what are your favorite things to get you in the mood for autumn? Do you have favorite video games, favorite recipes, favorite activities? Do you have a favorite book? Please let me know all of that down below in the comments. And if you have also made it to this point in the video, please leave me a pumpkin. In addition to all of the recommendations down below in the description, I'm also going to list quite a few different channels, creators, and personalized recommendation videos that inspired me for this particular video and inspire me every single autumn. Please go check all of them out as well. And I think that is it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, book lovers, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book, and I will talk to you very soon. Stay spooky.